Hello, everyone, and welcome to another very special Facebook Live, YouTube live from the campus of Texas Christian University, and where I am right now in the Mary Wright Admission Center here in the Office of Admission. It is wonderful to be with you all yet again. I want to say hi before we even get into it to so many people who have joined us already. Lily from Waxahachie and Brenda from Denver and Sydney from Seattle and Andrea from Chicago, LaShawn from Mesquite, all over the place. So whether it is evening or afternoon or wherever you are, hope you're having a fabulous, fabulous day. We start all of our programs here at TCU with a land acknowledgement, and it's especially important to do it this week. Earlier this week, TCU celebrated its 7th annual Native American and Indigenous Persons Symposium. And so we respectfully acknowledge all Native peoples who have lived in this space since time immemorial. And we pay particular tribute and respect to the Wichita and affiliated tribes who have forever been on the homeland of where TCU is currently located. Okay, we have a fantastic hour prepared for you. Or I should say unprepared for you, because as you know, if you have been with us before, this is an unscripted event. I don't know what anybody on the screen is going to say, and they don't know what I'm going to say either. And that's part of what makes this really, really fun. I'm going to talk for a few minutes. I'm going to allow our guests to introduce themselves, and then we're going to take it away. So as you can see, we have with us this evening living, breathing TCU students. And so the focus of tonight is to get your questions answered from the perspective of a TCU student. So while we are here in the Office of Admission, and we know that we are just a few weeks away from our first application deadline, so surely there are questions that have to do with the application process, tonight's really more about the student experience. So if you are a student or a parent of a student who is applying to TCU, and you're curious about what it's like to be a horned frog, go ahead and throw those questions in the chat right now. We're going to get to as many of them as we possibly can. As I said, we're scheduled to go until about 7 o'clock Central. If it goes a little longer, okay. If it doesn't go that long, that's okay too. We're here to have a lot of fun. Okay, 3 people I want to thank before we begin. People you cannot see, but who are here behind the curtains. Amy Peterson from TCU's Marketing Communications. She is in charge of all social media at TCU. Thank you very much, Amy. Rob Berline, who is with the Alumni Office. He is making sure that this works from a technological standpoint. And Liz Rainwater from the Office of Admission, who's Director of Admission Marketing, and always does a fabulous, fabulous job for us. Okay, that's enough of me talking already. I'm going to throw it over to our students. Hello, students. Hope you are having a great evening. We just started, we're on the start of fall break, so I'm sure you all are doing really, really well. I'm going to start with, I'm just going to go around my screen. We'll popcorn it. Nicole, we'll start with you. Y'all, if you could just briefly introduce yourselves, tell us your name, where you're from, what you're studying, and maybe some of the things that you're involved with here at TCU. So hello, Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Espinoza. I am a junior StratCom major from Dallas, Texas. And some of the things I'm a part of, I work at the Intercultural Center, as well as I'm a peer guide, and I'm a part of Kappa Delta Chi, which is in our Multicultural Greek Council, as well as I serve on exec, as well as the PR chair.
Awesome. Welcome, Nicole. Awesome to have you here. Dory, you're up next.
Okay, hi, I'm Dory Watanabe. I am from Omaha, Nebraska. I am a speech pathology major and a junior, and I am involved in Licensed to Trail Acapella, where I serve as the brand manager, and I am a part of Chi Omega, the sorority, and I am a student assistant to the chancellor and president.
Okay, Dory, you and I are going to have to talk offline about our a cappella experiences. Mine goes back several decades, but okay, very cool. Mark, you're up.
Hi, my name is Mark Rose. I'm a senior political science major with a minor in criminal justice and English. I am a part of the Honors Cabinet, which is like a student-led group within the Honors College. I'm also a chancellor host, and I'm a chancellor scholar as well.
Wonderful. And Mark, where did you go to high school?
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I went to high school at Midwest City High School. So I am from Midwest City, Oklahoma.
Very cool. All right, Oklahoma, represent. All right, Joe, you're up. Last but not least.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Joe Winnick. I'm a junior political science major, criminal justice minor. on the pre-law track from Austin, Texas. I'm involved here in student government, serving this year as our student body president. I served the last 2 years as the class of 2025's representative in the Student Government Association. I'm also a member of Greek Life. I'm a Sigma Phi Epsilon here on campus, and I serve our chapter as our vice president of academics. Also involved in a mental health organization here on campus called Patrick's Purpose to Value Life. And yeah, excited to be here tonight.
Awesome. Great to have you all here. Okay, so I want to start with a question that Lily asks, and that is, how does housing work? And then she also asks, are dorms separated by grade? So I thought, that's sort of a broad topic. I'd love for each of you to talk a little bit about your housing experience at TCU as you've gone through. What was it like coming in as an entering first year student, and then how the whole process work? So let's see, Dory, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so actually I didn't come in as a first year student. I'm actually a transfer student. And as a transfer, you weren't guaranteed housing, but I got super lucky and I was in the Tom Brown, Pete Wright apartment style dorms my sophomore year. And it was such a great experience just because I love dorm food, but I also love cooking. And so having that kitchen and living room and like living space was really nice to connect with my roommates and connect with others. And yeah, it was just a great experience.
Very good. Very good. Mark, you mentioned that you're in the Honors College. Did you live in Milton Daniel your first year?
I did. My first year, I did live in Milton Daniel. I was a basement boy, which pretty much means that I lived on the first floor of Milton Daniel. It was an amazing experience. Unfortunately, that was a time during COVID. So COVID really influenced a lot of how it worked. But overall, I had an amazing time. We all kind of bonded due to the social distancing and all that. A lot of times we would spend an entire afternoon in each other's rooms, still socially distant. But I think that kind of caused us to grow a little bit stronger, a little bit closer. Milton Daniel does an amazing job at doing that. And so I'm really grateful for my experience in Milton Daniel. And I think a lot of other honor students say the same thing.
Yeah. Joe, what about your housing experience? Let's talk about maybe the difference between your first year and your second year.
Yeah, so big difference between my first year and second year. My first year, I was in a pretty standard double in Waits Hall with a random roommate. I went into it completely random, open-minded, wanted to meet new people, and I had a phenomenal freshman year. I really lucked out. I'm still very good friends with my roommate. And sophomore year, I transitioned into living over in Worth Hills in the Greek Village, as a lot of people call it, in the Sigma Phi Epsilon house, where thankfully I had my own room, and it's divided. Every fraternity and sorority does it a little bit different on campus, but the way we do it is it's divided by grades, and then you get to, based on your academics and your grades from your freshman year, you get to be ranked, and then that's how you pick your room. So I got the chance to have my own room, and I shared a bathroom with the other people on my floor. But upgraded from a twin bed to a full-size bed sophomore year, which is always big. But, I can't complain about either year, and now I'm a junior and off campus, but I can't say I don't miss living on campus.
Well, and that's true, because we consistently get ranked for having some of the nicest housing in the country. Nicole, what was your housing experience like?
So I also lived in Waits my freshman year in a double, and it was random. It was very fun and exciting just because I've never shared a room with anybody before. So it was just like, well, like I'm living with another person. And I loved living in Waits just because the lobby was so nice. Everybody was so nice. It was just like a nice little hangout zone, whether it was like to do homework or even just like catch a small little conversation. It was like everybody was hanging out in the lobby. And then my second year, I lived in Grandmark, which was a little bit completely different, just because I didn't have a meal plan, so I was always cooking. But it honestly brought me and my roommate closer together because we were always trying like new recipes together. So that was pretty fun.
We do have one all-female residence hall, Colby Hall, and then with the other residence halls, it's possible that you could have single-gender spaces. One side of the hall to the other, or different floors. It's possible when there are bathrooms in the rooms that you have men and women living next to each other. So they're all structured a little bit differently. But I think the common themes of all the residence halls are fairly similar. We don't have these like 10-story high rises. They're fairly small. They're meant to be intimate, where students can really develop deep relationships with each other and with resident assistants and hall directors. And that's why I think our housing system is considered really strong. Okay, there's a really good question in here that asks from Lily Miner. I'm sure that these students had multiple universities in their mind when thinking about their college career. I'd like to know what really locked in their decision to go to TCU. So y'all can jump in wherever you want. How did you decide TCU was where you wanted to be?
For me, I grew up in the SMU area, so SMU was pretty much very known, and I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and get away from home. Even though it's 40 minutes, I felt like it's still a good enough distance for me. So yeah, that was one of my reasons I wanted to just get away for a little bit. But I mean, I'm not too far from home either, so it was just it's a nice little 40-minute drive from home.
Close enough to get home if you need to, but not so close where your family's just going to show up unannounced, right?
Yeah.
I can sort of relate to that. I'm being from Austin. I just joke around and always say just, a couple hours down the road. I'm a second generation Horned Frog. My dad went here. So, I didn't know I was going to end up at TCU if you had asked me, 5 years ago where I'd be going to college. But what really did it for me was the community. And when I came on campus to tour, I knew immediately upon going back to Austin that I was going to go be a Horned Frog. It was just different. And I joke around still with my friends and my family about, not to rag on our friends over in Dallas where Nicole was from. But, I did my tour at that university and then I came to TCU in the exact same day. And I joked around and said, I thought all the students at TCU were paid actors. Everyone's tossing the Frisbee in the commons. You got like a snow cone truck on campus and like a lot of fun things going on. And I was like, that had to have been a bunch of paid actors, but it's not. It's just perfect here. And so that community and everyone being so close with one another, that's what sealed the deal for me.
And I mean, there is something to be said for that. And we've got a couple of different publications that have recently ranked TCU as having the happiest students in the country. So I'm not surprised that you had that experience. I had a very similar reaction when I came here for the first time. I thought it was just a facade, like people weren't actually this nice, but indeed they are, and they're fun and they're friendly. Mark, what about you? What was it that sealed the deal for you?
Yes, so February of 2019, I toured TCU for the first time for the Chancellor Scholars Weekend. And I decided right then and there that even if I do or don't get it, I want to come to TCU. Everybody was super nice, super welcoming. I didn't feel the same support from other colleges that I did tour. And even right now, the person that interviewed me for my scholarship, she's one of the honors advisors. Her name is Miss Martinez. And, me and her she's so nice to me. Even after we got accepted in, everybody just tries to help you. And so I think that's what made me choose TCU, was just the welcoming community. And they made it seem like they actually wanted me.
And Dory, for our transfer students who may be watching, what was your process like? Because very often with transfer students, you sort of figure out before you apply that you're honing in on one or two schools. You're not necessarily applying to 10 different places. So what was your experience like?
Yeah, so I actually applied to TCU as a freshman. I had two siblings who went here before me, and I knew that it was a great opportunity, but I felt like I wanted to do my own thing. I'm the youngest of five, and I just wanted to be like independent, not have to follow in my siblings' footsteps. But once I decided I wanted to transfer, I looked back at TCU. And I was lucky enough to get a meeting with the chancellor, and we talked some things over. And he let me know that I am like my own person here. I can be whoever I want, and I don't have to follow in my siblings' footsteps. And I think those words really helped finalize the decision for me.
That's it's wonderful to hear, and not surprising. If all of us have had experiences with Chancellor Buscini, and for a person who leads a university that has nearly 11,000 undergraduate students, that everybody feels like they've got a one-on-one relationship with him, really speaks volumes about the leadership of this place. I want to transition a little bit. Kyle asks a really interesting question. How's it like living in Fort Worth? Because while we have some people on this screen who are from Texas, we have a lot of applicants out there who come from pretty great distances. So what's it like living in North Texas and in particular in Fort Worth?
I think it's awesome. I think Fort Worth has the perfect mix is how I've always described it. It's a big city. I think we're the 12th largest city in the country, but it doesn't necessarily feel like that. And there's a lot of activity to do off campus in Fort Worth. There's a lot of history here. And it's just a very culturally rich city in Texas. And, you know, with Dallas being nearby, there's obviously even more to do in the surrounding areas of Fort Worth. But I love it because it's spread out and it's not too crowded. It's not too packed. I mean, I live in downtown Austin. Now that's where my family's from. So when I'm back home, that's where I am. And it's like gridlock traffic 24/7. And I know that there's even some students who are coming from very rural areas. And there's a little bit of everything in Fort Worth. So I think it sort of encompasses how TCU is the same way. There's a little bit of everything at TCU, but there's also a little bit of everything in Fort Worth.
What have others' experiences with Fort Worth been like?
I would say for me, I thought it was going to be like Dallas, but it was completely different just because I was so used to, like, I grew up in the SMU area. Everything was like, just very city. And then when I came here, it was like a mix of both. Like, as Joe was saying, it's like you can get best of both worlds there. So I just love living in Fort Worth.
Yeah, pretty much everything that you'd want, right? We've got the cultural district, we've got the stockyards, which is sort of classic old Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. We're in a very residential area on a beautiful traditional college campus. You've got Arlington 20 minutes away, so you can see Taylor Swift 3 nights in a row if you want. Like, you pretty much have everything you could need right here. So yeah, I think it's great. Mark or Dory, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Anything you'd want to add about Fort Worth?
I've completely loved my time here. Buc-ee's is one of the best pluses that you could ever ask for. I don't know how many people in the stream have been to Buc-ee's. It's something that you definitely have to experience. And it's just something that you don't get too many times in another campus. TCU has some stuff that is really unique to Fort Worth, and that kind of makes Fort Worth its own special case. Like the Fort Worth Zoo, it's amazing. It's one of the best zoos in the entire world, and you can't find that anywhere else. And so my experience in TCU and Fort Worth in general has been that it's really unique. You just have to be here to experience it.
Yeah, definitely. I come from Omaha, Nebraska, and a lot of people coming to TCU from Omaha compare the two. It's very similar in the sense that it is like a big city feel, but also it is a small town feel. It's all combined, and I love it. There's so many things to do, and always such an active town and city.
It is. And, you know, if you're not from the region, the other thing that's worth noting is it's not difficult to get to. We're serviced by 2 major airports. DFW International Airport is about 35 minutes from our campus. You can get just about anywhere you need to go without having to change flights. So I think the ease of getting here is also another advantage. Okay, we're going to pause right now. For those of you who've never watched this before, you wouldn't know that we have a segment on this show called Dad Jokes. So I'm going to give you a joke, and now we've got 4 contestants here, so we can play a little. We can do a contest, and there may be swag involved as a reward. So here's the question: what happens when frogs park illegally? What happens when frogs park illegally?
They get towed.
They get towed. Dory, you got it. All right, you have to stop by the Office of Admission to pick up your item. All right, there may or may not be another opportunity for a winner. We'll see. Next, let's go to a great question that Elena asks. She says, I'm from out of state, so sort of along the theme we were talking about, so I won't know anyone on campus at the start. How did you get involved? How did you meet people? This is a really, really important question, the transition to college. I think one of the reasons why our retention rate is 94% is because we get people plugged in right away. So please tell us, how do students get plugged in right away?
I think for me, it was largely just putting myself out there. I also came to TCU only knowing I knew two people at TCU, but they were both 2 years older than me, and I vaguely knew them from my high school. So I was sort of in the same boat, although I was from in-state. A big event that I loved was the org fair, or now called the iFest, that is held in the rec center, and it's where over 100 student orgs set up a table, and you just have about 2.5, 3 hours to walk around and talk to as many people as you possibly can, learn more about the student organizations on campus, and see where you fit in. That's how I sort of got to understand what Student Government Association was, and that's where I found my best friends now. And then I think it's pretty popular at TCU. A lot of people go through Greek recruitment. However, that's not something that's required for you to be involved on campus. And those were the two ways I really got involved, was Greek recruitment and also going to that org fair and finding the organizations that best fit my needs.
I would say for me, living in one of the best like freshman dorms, I would say for myself, like having a big lobby and it was just so cozy. It was like home away from home. Just like everybody's in that dorm is in the same shoes as you, so just start a conversation. Like they're 9 out of 10 feeling the same way you are, so you're not alone on campus. There's people there to talk. So, and then one thing I do agree with Joe is getting out of your comfort zone, just saying yes. Like this is a time to learn about yourself, like what you like and what you don't like. Like for me personally, first semester I was like, I'm not gonna go Greek. That's not me. And then I ended up meeting some of the girls that I'm currently in the sorority with, and they're some of my best friends, and they influenced me. And now I'm a part of Kappa Delta Chi, so it's definitely just putting yourself out there and saying yes to everything.
Yeah, it's not being afraid to apply to things. Check your emails often. A lot of times people will send emails. I joined the honors cabinet because they sent out an email through the honors email. And if I had not had applied, I wouldn't know very few of my closest friends right now. Two of my closest friends, I'm going to Chicago with them for a conference. And that's just because we all applied. We both put ourselves out there. We thought like the worst that can happen is we don't get in, and that's totally okay. That's totally fine. You know, it's your first year. You don't have anything to lose, and there's nothing holding you back from applying and putting yourself out there. That's the biggest thing that I would say helps. Is just don't be afraid of any little like social embarrassment or anything like that. Anxiety. It's totally fine and totally normal. Everybody else is going through that as well.
Now I know because both Joe and Nicole, you just talked about your experience with Greek life. Dory, I think you mentioned you're in a sorority, and there have been some questions about this too. Can y'all talk a little bit, for those of you who are involved in Greek life, what was it maybe that made you want to consider it? How did you go about doing it? Because it's very different between PanHel versus MGC versus IFC, and you all can explain what those letters mean. So can you all sort of break it down for those who have never been through this before?
Yeah, so for MGC, it's a little bit different. We usually start within the second or third week of school starting, just because the other two, usually if they get dropped or if they just don't think that's for them, Multicultural Greek will have a week to get to know every organization. And it's like basically like a big mixer slash social that you can get to know the organizations. And then usually from there, 2 to 3 weeks later, there will be their recruitment, and you just find it's like another big little mixer. You get to know more about the organizations, and that's pretty much it for MGC.
Yeah, for IFC, which is the Intrafraternal Council or Intrafraternity Council, it's a pretty interesting rushing process. It's very laid back. It's typically begins even throughout the summer, and it's a great opportunity for students who are here during Frog Camp and during orientation who have signed up to. You register through the IFC website, and your name is in this big long list of everyone who's rushing it, and you'll get reached out to by every single fraternity, mostly through text or email, and that gives you the opportunity just to meet guys at different fraternities in a very, very lighthearted, laid-back way, whether it's over lunch, when you're at Frog Camp, or maybe after you've moved in the first couple weeks of August. Then that's when there are more structured rush schedules for guys, and there are typically social events on a daily basis from the day you move into the first day of classes. And they are just sort of meet and greets. Sometimes we'll have a barbecue or we'll do a Q&A session. And then the first week of classes, it's called Formal Rush. And that is when every fraternity has pretty much a big tent set up outside of their house in Greek Village. And it's another phenomenal opportunity for you to go and get to know the guys. Oftentimes, members of the executive boards of each fraternity, but it's a very laid back process, and it's designed to have people who are going through the rushing process meet as many people as they can and really try to find who they sort of jive with the most, who they think they could see themselves being around for the next 4 years. But even once you're in a fraternity, it does not narrow you down to just those people, just those 150 to 170 guys. I have many friends across all fraternities on campus, and that's goes back to the community aspect of TCU. Is you're never going to be narrowed into the group that you decide to be a part
of. I want to transition to a question that Marianne asks, which I think you'll all have a response for, and that is, what are your favorite TCU traditions? I mean, this is a tradition-rich place, so what do you love? What tradition do you most look forward to?
I mean, for me, I think about football season. I know that that's a tradition everywhere, but football is just so big, and obviously coming off of last football season, we've set a standard that we're gonna be fighting to meet for, I think, the future of TCU, and it's just such an exciting time on campus, and everyone is so invested. Going to the football games every Saturday with the same students, it's so much fun. So for me, I know it's a tradition at a lot of places, but the football tradition here at TCU is so rich, and it's my favorite part about the fall.
I really love the tree lighting ceremony that we have in December. I got to experience it for the first time last year, and it was just so wonderful because there's so many Christmas things happening. Christmas is my favorite holiday, and there's even fake snow that they put out, which honestly makes me feel like I'm home because we get a lot of snow in Nebraska. But it was just such a great event. There's different activities you can do, and there's live music, and it's just a great time.
I would say for me, it's probably baseball season, just because I'm a big baseball lover. So anytime especially right now with playoffs happening, I'm gonna be watching baseball. So definitely, baseball season has to be one of my favorite things that happens.
And of course, we made it to the College World Series last year. We're one of the final 4 teams remaining. Nicole, you might know that Texas beat Tampa Bay today to advance to the division round of the playoffs. Okay, good stuff. Mark, what's your favorite tradition?
It's a bit of a newer one. I would say it's TCU Gives Day. I think that's an amazing one that has a real philanthropic impact. That's pretty much where we open up donations, and anyone online can donate to any part of the college that they want. Different colleges, different organizations, they open it. So if you want to be kind and gift a donation, then you're more than willing to do so. I think that's one of my favorite traditions at TCU, just because it's not only just fun, everyone is in a good mood about it, but it also helps the colleges, and it helps other people too, because sometimes they put those donations to use it for the better good further down the line. And so that's my favorite.
Well, we were just talking about that. Joe, why don't you fill us in on?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if I could brag on TCU Gives Day a little bit today. So it's a 24-hour donation period, just like Mark just touched on. And our goal this year was to hit $515,000 and have 2,023 donors. Well, we were well over $1 million at 7 p.m. last night, and our final total today at around 1 p.m. was $1.8 million raised in just about 24 hours, and over 4,000 donors. And I just want to brag on that a little bit. That again, goes back to the community. Everyone cares and they want to give back and enrich the student experience at TCU, both inside and outside the classroom. And yeah, Mark, that's a great point. And it's just been going on. He said it's a little new. This was our 10th annual TCU Gives Day. But it's a tradition that I'm sure will go on for a long time, and it really does benefit the students.
Well, and as Mark alluded to, donors can designate where they want their funds to go. So like I know with my donation, I put it right back into student scholarships because we want TCU to be as an affordable place as possible for as many students as possible. So I just agree with all of you. And Mark, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, Jessica asks, how accessible and available are professors outside the classroom? So I'm curious to hear from all of you about relationships and that you've been able to develop with these mentors of yours. Mark, let's start with you.
Okay. Yes. So it depends on who the professor is. A lot of times, some of them are very busy, but I think I can speak fairly confidently that every professor that I've tried to talk to has made time to talk to me. Right now, I'm working on a research project with 2 professors that I had in the past, and I just got really close to them. I was able to reach out to them, email them. I met with Dr. Garnett and Dr. Arnold. They were 2 honors professors that I took, and they had a Friday, I think every other week, where students were able to go up to them and talk to them. So they just went to Union Grounds, which is a coffee place inside the Blue. And so they just sat there, and it was a 1-hour period for students to come by, just chat with them, tell them stories, share experiences. If they're having trouble in the class, and they can help them out with that. But normally it's just a laid back time for us to grab coffee. And I don't think that's rare at TCU. I think that many other people can say that they have experiences like that. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think professors at TCU are incredibly accessible to their students. I mean, our faculty to student or student to faculty ratio is 14-1, and so that provides a lot of one-on-one opportunities for your professors. And I know on a personal level, I have had the ability to grow very close with some professors to the point where even though it's semesters after I've taken their course, we email back and forth and make sure, just checking in, or we'll get lunch just to catch up. And it really is my favorite part about academics at TCU is how close you can get with your professors. And then they are openly willing in the future to write letters of rec for you and recommend other teachers that you take or other courses. And I even just met with one of my freshman year teachers to talk about sort of career paths and he's helping me navigate law school. So there's countless opportunities for you to get close to your professors here at TCU, and they really do look forward to getting close with their students.
I would say definitely they have office hours, which every professor is required to have office hours, but as well as if those hours don't work for you, they will just you just send them an email, and they're willing to meet with you anytime, anywhere, really. Like I've met some professors in Neely just because my classes were over there, and they're just willing to work with you overall, and it's not like a one-sided relationship. That they're going to meet you in the middle regardless of anything.
I love hearing those Costa Rican birds. Y'all don't know this, but Nicole's actually joining us from Costa Rica, where she's celebrating her birthday this week. Dory, anything that you wanted to add about your experiences with faculty?
Yeah, I agree with everything that everyone said, especially about the student to faculty ratio. Within the speech pathology department, the classes are pretty small, considering speech pathology isn't like the largest major at TCU. But it's great because you get that one-on-one relationship with your teachers. And I had a professor last year, which I have again this year, and it's so cool because he still remembers my name, and we still have that relationship, which is great.
That's awesome. Well, and to me, the secret sauce of TCU has always been not just that we're this medium-sized school that can play like big-time Division I athletics. Yeah, that's all cool. But what's distinctive is that compared to other schools that are in that could make those claims, we're almost exclusively undergraduate. We have very few grad programs. And what that means is our faculty see teaching undergraduate students as a priority. And so it's not surprising to hear all of you speak about the intimacy of those relationships, because those really do carry with you, not just for your 4 years as a student here, but well beyond that. And that's a big differentiator between TCU and some other places that that everyone might be looking. Speaking of personal kinds of connections and assistance as you navigate this process called the TCU journey, Kara asks, how did your counselors work with you when planning your degree? What about classes you're interested outside of your degree program? So I'm wondering if each of you could talk about your experiences with academic advising.
I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in first. So like I mentioned before, Miss Martinez, she interviewed me for my scholarship, and she is an honors advisor. She is absolutely incredible. And the thing is that she's not like the most outstanding one, because all of them are like that. All the advisors I've talked to have been at that level. And so they really get invested into your core, the classes that you've taken so far. They take a considerable amount of time to look at what you've done so far. So TCU, they require everyone to take general core classes, which count for humanity credits, communication credits, et cetera. And so they make sure that you're completing those, while at the same time, they're also making sure that you're getting the checks on what you need for your majors and minors. I would say they're incredibly helpful. I don't think I've heard anyone say that they've had a bad experience with a counselor ever before. I would say they're also very accessible. Normally, you can just send them an email, and they'll set up a time for you to meet with them and talk to them one-on-one. Ultimately, I've seen a lot of great care from them.
I would say for me, my advisor is George Nunez, and he's honestly I email him almost every day on like what classes to take and what I shouldn't take. But mainly, it's honestly a relationship between both of y'all, that it's like you're also taking classes you wouldn't normally take in high school. So like for me, one of my favorite classes that I've taken is Women and Gender Studies, which me personally, if I didn't meet with George or talk about that class, I would have never taken it. But he was encouraged me to take like classes that I normally wouldn't take, as well as just getting a different perspective. And when I do my classes now, I'm like, I do it as I normally wouldn't see myself taking it, but usually those classes are my favorite classes to take.
Yeah, I mean, I would say personally, I've had a great experience with academic advising. And I actually have my advisor that I had for my entire first year retired. And so I got a new advisor. So I was a little worried about that, but it wasn't a problem. And just like Mark said, all the advisors are extremely accessible, and they care about the work that they're doing, and they're there to help you individually. And, this year, the advising or the academic advising program is rolling out a new platform called Stellic, and it's just this all-encompassing advising and sort of degree planning platform that is so user-friendly, and there's so many really easy-to-use tools that are extremely helpful and make sort of your college plan very visible and all in one space. And it also increases the accessibility to your advisor, because you could contact them directly through Stellic. You could schedule your meeting through there. So where academic advising was already excelling, they are even improving that to be even better. So it's definitely an area that is always improving, and I think students all pretty much like that and are appreciative of it.
And Joe, I think you mentioned you're a poli-sci major. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you have a poli-sci advisor and a separate pre-law advisor, or because pre-law is housed in political science,
Right.
is it the same person?
So coincidentally, it's the same person. And I go to the political science department. Most of their offices are just right there in one hallway. And so I'll bounce back and forth from some different professors, just because I've gotten to know them and I've taken many of their classes multiple times. But my poli-sci advisor is the same as my pre-law advisor, but I do utilize other professors, and we all sort of talk together, and so they all sort of help out. And it's a pretty fun aspect, or it's a pretty fun dynamic there.
Yeah. And just in case people are curious, pre-law, and this is a sort of a universal, not just a TCU thing, it's a track as opposed to a major. So one could major in anything and still be pre-law at the same time. It's just because there are so many students who end up going to law school from poli-sci, history, economics, that's where that's where a lot of the advising can come from. Dory, did you have any addition to make about the advising system that you've experienced?
Yeah, so coming in as a speech pathology major, we get an advisor for our first 2 years, and it is a woman. She's amazing, Trudy Connor, and she advises all of the speech pathology first and second years. So she creates a schedule, a 4-year plan for us, which is honestly amazing, because then I just have to look at the classes that I need to take, and then I can choose which ones. But also talking about extra classes, I got to study abroad this summer, and that was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. And those classes that I took counted as electives, which was super great. But there's also different classes that you could take abroad that could count for different cores as well.
Dory, that is a perfect segue to a question that Channing asked, which is, can you share some information about the study abroad program? So maybe you could start and talk about your experience. Not only what was the experience like, but sort of the process of getting started. How did you know where you wanted to study? Who did you go to for that? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I literally just looked up TCU study abroad programs, and one that caught my eye was the John Cabot program. John Cabot is a university within Rome, Italy, and they partner with TCU and a lot of other universities to create a easy transition to studying abroad. And so I did the 5-week program where I took 2 different classes. One was a art history class, and the other one was a drawing class, which was super cool because both of them were on site, which means that we got to travel to different parts of Rome and either draw or learn about the history of that specific place. Yeah, but it was just like a great experience overall.
Did anyone else study abroad while at TCU, out of curiosity?
I haven't, but I'm looking into it for this upcoming summer to do a 5-week session.
Good. And I would encourage everybody to do it. It's my one single regret from college is that I did not study abroad. So I am a huge proponent because it's going to be difficult in your life after school to just uproot yourself and go immerse yourself in another culture. So, okay, time to pause again for the next round of dad jokes. Okay, so everyone take a breath. Are you prepared? It's a tough one. What's blue and doesn't weigh much? What's blue and doesn't weigh much? This is a trick question. Give you 3 seconds. Light blue. Come on.
Oh.
Okay, Mark, you really like that one. I can tell.
Yeah. I did. Blue is my favorite color, so I was like, I should have thought of that.
You should have thought of that. Okay, let's go to a question that Natalie asks. Are there options for part-time jobs on or around campus? So let's just talk generally about employment, whether it's on campus or off campus, whether it's through work study or not. Has anyone had a job while they've been at TCU? Can you talk? I see several nods. So why don't we start? Nicole, go ahead and start.
Yeah, so I work at the Intercultural Center, and it's just a space where students can go and study. It's honestly another lounging study spot. There's a lot of events that happen, different type of events that happen. And yeah, it's just like a nice little hangout spot. You literally get paid to do your homework. It's super fun, super chill, just a nice way to start talking and mingling with other people.
And how did you go about getting that job?
My big actually got me that job because she started working there a semester before me, and then she's like, we need people, and that is how I got my job. So definitely ask your friends if their job is hiring, and that's how you get hired.
And just to clarify, when you say you're big, you mean your big sister in your sorority?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's see. Mark, I think you said you have a job too. How did you go about that?
Yeah, so my job is a little bit different. I work as a chancellor host in the Harrison, and so that one is exclusively under the chancellor's like office. And so how I did that was my old RA used to be one back in Milton Daniel, and so I first heard about it from him. And so if you ever go to an event that's sponsored by the chancellor or that it has a lot of people there, and you see someone wearing a purple coat, that is a chancellor host, and so they're just there to help people out. In the Harrison, we sit at the front desk and we kind of greet people. If anyone wants to deliver packages or answer phone calls, we're there to just help out anyone that needs any help at all. And so I applied and I went through a process and I got accepted, and it's amazing. But there are also plenty of other part-time jobs inside the Harrison as well. Every office that's in there, access and accommodations, registrar's office, financial aid, they all have their own student workers at the front desk also. And so there's plenty of opportunities. Even just in the Harrison, there's several, but outside of it, there's a lot. Like the rec center is one of them.
Dory, did you nod that you have a job? I couldn't remember.
Yes, I do. So I am actually also in the Harrison, but on the third floor, and I am a student assistant for the Office of the Chancellor and President. It's a work study job as well, and so it's literally just getting paid to do your homework and helping out within the office and with anyone who needs either I do like different like gift wrapping things for Christmas or different things like that, answering the phones. It's such a great job and it's such a great opportunity.
Yeah. Lots of jobs available here on campus. Here in the Office of Admission, we have interns as well. We have ambassadors who give tours, and they are paid to give tours of campus. So plenty of opportunity for student employment. Also, phenomenal job opportunities here in the Fort Worth area. This is an incredibly fertile area for jobs, no matter what your intended profession is. We have something called Frog Jobs, which is powered by Handshake. And that's where employers and prospective employees can interface. Joe, I saw you nodding. I didn't know if there was something you wanted to talk about there.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned Handshake and Frog Jobs. That's actually how I got my internship this last summer. That's where I learned about it. I think the number, Dr. Einstein, you'll probably know the number better than I do, but I think it's four out of every 5 students do internships at TCU. Yep. And I know I've had an internship every summer I've been at TCU. One was back home in Austin, and then this last summer I decided to stay here in the DFW area. I worked in Frisco, which is a little bit of a hike, but it's only like a 45-minute commute. I had an internship at T-Mobile doing some government affairs work in their corporate headquarters, or not corporate headquarters, one of their corporate offices across the country there in Frisco. But there are so many internship opportunities over the summers. And even during part-time internships during the fall and spring semesters. But TCU does a great job of connecting students with the various companies and businesses around the area. And on top of that, a lot of nonprofit organizations that partner with TCU to get students involved. And there's a great career fair every year. Or there's multiple, and then sometimes Neely will have a career fair within it. But there's a big all majors career fair every spring and fall. Where there's well over 100 employers from DFW that come in and partner with TCU to get some prospective students.
You just mentioned needing to get to Frisco for an internship. And that actually begs the question that was asked earlier in the chat from Will. He's from Fort Worth, and he asks, do you recommend having a car your first year at TCU? Now, you don't necessarily have to go to Frisco your first year at TCU, but I'm curious from all of y'all's perspective, how necessary is it to have a car on campus?
I think it really depends on your individual needs. So for me, being from Austin, for those occasions where I'm going home from school, it was more convenient for me to have my car. On a weekend like this weekend where it's fall break, I want to have my car so I could drive. I wanted to have my car so I could drive back home to Austin. Now, a lot of my friends who were out of state didn't bring their car until their junior year. And those who did would oftentimes park their car in the Frog Alley garage and sometimes not touch it for weeks at a time. So is it necessary? I would say not at all. Everything is very walkable. It takes 15 minutes to walk from one end of campus to the absolute other end of campus. And the majority of times you'll only have to do a little bit in between there. So I would say it's not necessary, but if your needs are to get back home and it's a close enough drive, I would suggest bringing your car just to fit your needs, but not required by any means.
How might others answer that question?
Yeah, I was going to say also a lot of, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I would agree with Joe. Like, just for me, I'm 45 minutes away, so, but I mainly walk everywhere, so
Yeah.
it's just nice to have, but I wouldn't say it's like
Yeah.
Mark, go ahead.
So I was going to say that a lot of times if you have like a good amount of friends, a lot of them will offer to give you a ride as well. And so we'll normally, whenever my car was in a shop for a few weeks, my other friend that did have a car, he offered to like drive us around. And so I would pay for his lunch in return for it. But, you know, a lot of people here are willing to help out. A lot of people that do bring their cars, again, that's one of the best things about TCU in the community is that oftentimes at least one person in your friend group will have a car. And, you know, I'm not saying like use them for a ride, but I'm just saying that the culture that TCU cultivates is a very helpful community of giving back to others. And so I've been really fortunate to have really caring friends that would be willing to give me a ride whenever I needed it.
Very good. At the bottom of the screen, you can see written on Frog Fountain is Texas Christian University. What people might not know is that we have more than 60 different faith traditions on this campus. And so I'm wondering from all of you, can you talk about what it means to be Texas Christian University? What is religious life like? And you don't need to go into necessarily details about your own particular faith, but you know, how might TCU be different or the same from people's assumptions about a place called Texas Christian University?
I would say that whenever I was interviewing I asked that exact question to Miss Martinez, and her response is one that I hear everyone give. Your faith, it is as big or as little as you want to make it on campus. So there's a lot of different opportunities. There's a lot of different churches through TCU that you can go to. I know TCU is affiliated with the Disciples of Christ. There is a church on campus that you are more welcome to attend. But at the same time, we don't force people or require people to attend any religious events. All that TCU does require is for you to take a religion course, just for you to become more cultured and for you to learn about other experiences in the world. But they offer so many different religious courses, so it's not just about Christianity. There's multiple that are about like Hinduism or Buddhism or understanding the Quran. So again, it's really what you want to make out of it. If you subscribe to a different faith, TCU is super welcoming and super conforming to your beliefs. But at the same time, if you want to make it like really big and a part of you, TCU also allows for that.
That's a great answer. Does anyone have anything to add? Okay. No, that's perfect. Okay. This is I love this question that Kara asks. What is your favorite course that you have taken so far? So reflecting back on your semesters at TCU, you know, you probably all have that one favorite professor, favorite class that really stood out to you. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, mine falls in my minor, actually. I'm a criminal justice minor, and my favorite class I've taken was crime scene investigation. It was the most hands-on experience I'd ever been a part of in terms of my education, learning how to fingerprint and learning how to take DNA swabs from different pieces of evidence. And our exams were actually out in the TCU out on campus at TCU, where they would set up a mock crime scene and there would be TCU police officers there securing the scene. And you and your group would have to go through and conduct an investigation. And that was your midterm and final grade. And it just goes to show some of the unique education experiences you can have here at TCU. And that's the one that stands out to me the most.
Very cool. Who's next? Tell us your favorite class that you've taken at TCU.
I can go next. Mine is actually a class that I'm taking right now. It is sign language. It's for a related area within my major, and it has been just such a unique experience to learn a different language with signs, like with hand signs. And learning about the culture as well within the deaf community has been very exciting, and just I'm excited to keep taking more sign language classes because it's been great.
Very cool. Nicole, do you have a favorite class you've had at TCU?
So I'm between two. So actually, my first class I took that was like my favorite was my religion class, and it was with about the Quran with Dr. Ross, and he just made the class so exciting. Like even though it was a lot of information to remember, it's just he made the information so easy to learn and to memorize. And then my second one that's tied with it have to be my women and gender studies, just because I have an emphasis on it right now, and it's just so interesting to see like different perspectives and just like that class you bring in, like your experiences and what you can relate to, and then the class just goes from there. It's just one big group discussion class, which I enjoy those classes.
Excellent. And Mark, what about you?
I'm torn between two of my honors classes. They're just so amazing. The two I'm talking about are called colloquia classes. So if you do upper division honors, then the colloquia classes are classes that are based around discussion, and so it's not like a traditional classroom where it's more like tests, quizzes, exams. It's more based on reading. They give you different things to learn, different materials, and then we get into class and we talk about it and we work through it. So right now I'm in sports and society with Dr. Pitcock. He's the dean of the honors college, and I am loving that class so much. We watch documentaries about like the O.J. Simpson trial. We watch documentaries like LFG. We've seen so many different things and talked about so many different things that apply to the world as we know it right now. So we're getting into the nitty gritty about the kind of the structural flaws in sports and how like human nature kind of creeps into it. It's such an amazing class, and we talk about it all. He's fired up about it, and he gets us fired up about it. Right now, it's my favorite class.
Awesome. Okay, y'all, we have just enough time for one more question. So I'm going to ask you to give us your final thoughts with this last question. We've got folks out here who are in the throes of applying for college. They're trying to, over the next several months, decide where they're going to end up. What is your one piece of advice for somebody who's trying to figure out that right school for them?
Yeah, I'm happy to start off. Go with your gut. That's, I think, the biggest thing. And if you have the ability to get on campus and do it at all the universities that you're looking at, it truly is important that you go where you feel you'll be the most happy and enjoy it the most. And I'm confident that I think I am happy to invite any student to TCU, and I'm confident they'll leave there being like, oh, this is the spot. So get on campus and then just see how you feel. Just be immersed in the area for a little bit and just see how you feel. That's my biggest piece of advice. That's how I sort of did it.
Love it. Totally agree with you, by the way, on the visit. Just a little plug for Monday at TCU. We offer them about every month. It's a comprehensive full-day program. You can go on our website and register. We give you breakfast. We give you lunch. You meet with faculty and students. You just don't want to miss that. So Monday at TCU. Okay, Mark, what's your one piece of advice?
Go somewhere that you think is going to be long term, that you'll be happy in the long term about it. So I know a lot of times you get caught up in like the name of a college. You're like, oh, well, this place has a great reputation. If I got there, then it'd be something great that I could apply to jobs with. That is true, but at the same time, you want to be somewhere that you're going to enjoy your experience at, because college is going to be a time where you're going to be making a lot of new friends. You're going to be exposing yourself to a whole new world. And so you want to make sure that you go to a place that you're going to be comfortable in, that you're going to be welcomed in, and that you're going to be accepted in. And so whatever that place is for you, I would say just be careful with where you apply and make sure that they're really going to take good care of you.
Awesome. Dory, what would you advise students?
Joe kind of took mine, but I agree about getting on campus and seeing it in person. That was something that I struggled with my senior year in high school, was getting those on-campus tours just because of COVID and everything. But also knowing that even if you feel like you made the wrong decision once you get to the college, there's always so many more opportunities. I know I had this fear about transferring to a different school and like what people would think of me, but honestly, it's your decision and it's your education and it's what you make of it.
Excellent. Nicole, you get the last word.
I would say just trust yourself. Like, you don't have to follow your friends just because you're grown up, like, since kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. Just explore and just honestly just trust yourself in a new environment. You're going to learn new things about yourself. So you just have to trust yourself on wherever you're going to end up at.
Excellent advice from all four of you. And I want to thank you all for being with us. Nicole, Dory, Joe, Mark, thank you for giving your time, especially because it's fall break. And for everyone who has joined us on social, thank you as well. We're going to be back on Wednesday, November 1st, because now that we've told you how great TCU is, you need to know how to pay for it. So we're going to be talking about scholarships and financial aid. So please join us then. In the meantime, wish you a safe, pleasant evening. And as always, go Frogs.